extra minutes here for the Fullcast team. So hey everybody, we're back on with Fullcast now. Fullcast helps your revenue team plan, perform, and get paid with the industry's first end-to-end revenue command center. Please welcome Peter Bureau, Account Strategy Director at Fullcast, who will walk us through their product. Peter, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Manuel. So happy to be here with you all at Revolt. So as Manuel was saying, Fullcast is a end-to-end plan to pay system. Today we'll be talking specifically about the Pulse product, formerly known as Atrium. So the Pulse product is purpose-built for GTM organizations to automate performance management to ensure your sales reps are actually coached and held accountable. And what am I talking about here? Well, realistically, frontline managers and sales organizations have one of the hardest jobs in the world, right? As part of that, they're pulled in 27 different directions at all times by their reps, by their leaderships, by their ops teams. And as a result, they really struggle to manage reps consistently and proactively, especially in an organization that is focused on being a more data-driven sales organization. And why is that, right? It's usually because we're not enabling them enough. Right? They have limited bandwidth. They're rolling up forecasts. They're dealing with their reps' problems. They're unsticking deals. And how do we enable them to make decisions? Well, we give them bulky BI. We give them Salesforce dashboards and say, hey, here's 1 million data points. Go figure it out. Right? We want to solve that. They get overwhelmed by having to monitor those dashboards day in and day out because simply they don't have enough time. And then fast forward to a one-on-one between a manager and a rep. What happens? The manager's hesitant to hold them accountable, right? Because one, maybe they don't have the data they need to do so. They don't have the time to look at the full picture and be a data analyst. So it doesn't happen. And as a result, you get performance issues in your organization and performance gaps. So what are we doing about it? So Fullcast Pulse is an easy to use go-to-market specific BI that talks to you. Right? So we're taking in all of your data from all of your most important sales data sources, the CRM, email, calendar, gong recordings, etc. And what we've built is a system that is not only easy to use if a manager does want to sit around on a Friday night, with a glass of wine in hand playing data analyst, but also automates the process of data collection, data understanding, really trying to transform that world of data rich, insight poor. So what we've built is an AI direct sales coach on top of all of that data that speaks to all of your reps every day, so you know they're getting the messaging on the things that your revenue organization cares about, the metrics, the behaviors that you've prescribed. We automatically track any goals and benchmarks that are set on any of those metrics to help define what good looks like and help reps understand and managers understand how they're pacing towards those items. And then finally, we're a co-pilot for every one of your frontline managers and leaders in your organization, delivering like an analyst would without that analyst overhead. So before we hop into the product, really quickly, when does this problem become worth solving with something like Fullcast Pulse powered by Atrium? Realistically, the symptoms that you'd be looking for in your organization is no matter how much at the top we're kicking and screaming, your CRO, your VPs of the behaviors and levels and expectations that want to be seen, we're prescribing that. And then there's a gap. It's just not happening in reality as we get to the boots on the ground. Second reason that revenue organizations would look at something like this is they've built out that BI team. They have analysts. They're giving these reports to managers and reps, but it's just not affecting change. They don't have the attention of the organization, or maybe it's just not aligned. And then finally, very common use case, especially today's day and age where efficiency is king, revenue operations and data team resources are just too limited to be giving weekly analysis, almost like a weekly QBR write-up for every rep and every manager in your organization. So they just don't have the information they need to really succeed and drive your performance initiatives. So let's go ahead. We can pop into the platform here and I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so this is Atrium. So what you're looking at here is an organization, their priorities around prospecting, deal control, cross-sell, and all of this is built on dozens and dozens and dozens of out-of-the-box KPIs, automatically ingesting all of your data, no need to actually build anything. So no bandwidth for your RevOps team. What's happening here is all of these data points, they're really like Lego blocks built to help your team perform in the areas that matter, are being statistically analyzed, whether that's a team or a rep against another team or a rep who is doing the same role. Or maybe we want to understand how things are changing over time on specific metrics we care about, like contacts engaged per account, right? Or maybe we need to understand how people are progressing towards a goal that we've set, right? Or maybe we need to understand how a bunch of ramping reps are doing compared to reps who have ramped before them. And again, don't have that time to go digging through dashboards and diving through dashboards to figure it out. All of that statistical analysis is happening here on the right automatically. And what do you get out of it? Right? You get an analyst write-up at any level of the organization on demand that you need. So right now I'm logged in as like a sales leader or a CRO. Every Monday morning, they're getting this write-up in their inbox, letting them know, hey, these are the areas and teams you should be focused on given the initiatives you've programmed into the system, right? We can see shout outs like, hey, we're sending a lot more email outreach as we're prospecting. That's good. What are the problems I need to look at though? Well, we've set expectations about how many self-set demos people are actually sending, right, or creating through their prospecting efforts. And we can see the JP team, the Gamma team, the Chef team, and the Fife team, they're all missing those targets we've set. We need to address that. Maybe it's because we're seeing a decline in call activity. Maybe it's because we're seeing a decreased level of contact engagement as we're going out into the accounts that are assigned to us, right? It's just here to make it very easy. Now let's talk about going down a layer. Let's pretend we are that frontline manager, right? We have a team meeting every Monday where we need to address, hey, what are we going to focus on as a team right now? What's going well? What are the areas we need to double down? They are given that script for that Monday morning meeting, that jumping off point of, yeah, okay, we need to talk about some things from product, we need to talk about some things from marketing, but what are we doing as a team? Hey guys, high five, our average contract values are going up like we've been talking about. You guys are really hustling in terms of getting out there and prospecting with your email and call efforts. We're reducing the number of stuck opportunities that are sitting in the funnel for too long, floundering. But what do we have to continue to work on as a team? Well, guys, we're seeing a big drop off in our conversion rate from our develop stage, from stage 1 to 2. That's going to be a problem in a couple of months as we think about our pipeline. Flunky, Rob, Vulture, Lucille, Jay Audubon. Let's talk about how we can unstick some of these deals, make sure we're not losing too early, or discuss the quality of those opportunities coming in from the inside sales team. We're also behind on our self sets, right? If we're getting lower quality ops, maybe from the SDR team, hey, we gotta pick up the slack. Flunky, Vulture, Lucille, you're all behind here. Let's pick it up, right? So they're getting all of this information right when they need it ahead of any meeting on demand. Or maybe I'm reviewing this on a Friday and I want to send people off and say, hey, Flunky the baboon here, I actually just want to give them a high five. I know they're having a hard time right now. Something's going on in their life. I'm just going to send them off into the weekend with something nice, right? So pulling in that relevant data of things they are doing very well and just giving them that shout out, right? Just at your fingertips. Finally, let's say you're looking through this as a frontline manager and you're really concerned about pipeline because you're seeing these self-set and these conversion rate questions happening, right? You can come in and just ask sales coach, who on my team is doing well with pipeline right now? Who is doing poorly, right? It'll actually just generate that new prompt. It'll search through all of the insights that we're seeing that could be applied to pipeline, and it'll do that work for you, right? It can do things like write your performance management reviews. It can do things like write a PIP if you need to. It can help you generate a QBR, all based on the data and the rails your team has put in place. Furthermore, let's talk about reps. Let's talk about one-on-ones. We go into a one-on-one, the last thing that we want to do is give them a blank piece of paper, right? All too often, what do we do when we walk in as managers into a one-on-one? Well, we end up talking about deals. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Everyone needs to be working through those deal problems, making sure that we're unsticking deals, progressing deals. We all have a forecast that we need to hit. But what happens when we lose sight of leading indicators or other behavioral situations that are going to hurt those deals 2 months down the road, a quarter down the road, a Q+2 down the road? We need to always be in front of those things. So if I was to walk into a one-on-one with a rep, I want my managers having that script. I want to know, hey, are they actually doing these things that I'm asking for? It looks like my screen is frozen. Let me restart my share here. Sorry, everyone. There we go. So what you're seeing here is actually the fact that, I'm walking into a one-on-one. This has actually been emailed to the rep and myself as the manager ahead of that meeting on a schedule you've determined. It's going to give us all of the information on exactly where the rep is doing well and the areas that we can choose to talk about in terms of things like, performance or accountability or areas in their sales motion they're struggling. We can just click through that data. We can look at why it's calling these things out. So in this case, this rep has a goal of how many self-set demos or conversations they should be having on a monthly and quarterly basis. And while we can see they're a little behind pace right now to hit those goals on a quarterly and a monthly basis, we can see what's happening is within the last month or within the last 30 days, this behavior has really fallen off a cliff. Right. So this is more of a conversation about consistency and accountability as opposed to things like deal control, conversion rate, win rate, stuff of that nature. The second piece we can dig into here is the goal history. This is the scoreboard of the expectations we've set to the reps delivered directly to them week in and week out over Slack and email. So there's never a reason they can say, I don't know what's going on, or I didn't know this was happening, right? We can have that scoreboard of how frequently are they hitting all of those goals week in, week out, month in, month out, and on a quarterly basis, as well as start to influence early in a quarter. Hey, how are we pacing towards this given how you've paced in prior quarters? Where are we pacing well? Like things from, conversion rate from stage 1 to stage 2, and where are we pacing, a little behind pace, like things like AE self sets, or really behind pace, like the average contract values of the deals we're signing. Again, this is all built on top of an actual BI system. So you also have all those things in there, like dashboards, all of that stuff that you need. But again, the idea being, hey, let's make this easy. Let's democratize the data. Let's get the insights so we can actually perform as a team using that data and make good decisions. All right.